Do you have any idea how long it's been since I last made a review for Death Bell? It's been like an entire year since my last review of Gojo vs. Makima before I just vanished off of the face of the earth. Sorry about that, by the way. But now, with Death Bell's return, I can finally say that we are back with more Death Bell content to come from now on. So let's begin with the season premiere of the new era of Death Battle, which is Omni from Invincible versus Bardock from Dragon Ball. At the moment we realized that this was happening, the Death Bell community finally realized that we were indeed back. But overall, how did I like the new episode? I would like to give this episode an 8 out of 10. It is a very good start to the new era of Death Battle, though obviously it is not perfect. Now, I don't want to waste time and I want to talk about this episode in a lot of detail, so let's get into what makes this episode so good. The analysis for both fighters is very good. The main thing I want to focus on is the editing of the analysis, because in both characters' cases, they both had very intricate and detailed edits that helped the episode get a bit more flair. Some things I really liked mainly came from the textured Omni-Man's analysis, specifically the little comic dog event that's barely visible. I like this touch as it gives a bit more overall character to the analysis, specifically towards who the analysis is trying to convey. I hope that this continues on more with future episodes, as the overall edits here are very well made. I will give my full props to the editors. I hope you got a fair bit of the money used to create this complete masterpiece of an episode. They also do a good job at going into what a character can do, because comparing Omni-Man's analysis from now to the one he got Omni-Man vs. Homelander is just not even close to the same. Not only is the aforementioned editing more of a central part of it, but the amount of detail that go into specific characters is insane. I may not be able to understand any of it because I don't have a PhD in literally everything known to mankind, but the fact that they go into this amount of depth within very short time frames for each analysis is really amazing, and it makes me want to give the crew a chocolate ice cream. Best flavor, I ain't gonna hear you out. But one thing I really wanted an analysis to do was to get me hooked onto the characters, and did this episode do that well? Well, it got me hooked onto G, no Sui Mama!
Met and eventually married fellow warrior Gine.
I also really like the characters after the analysis too. Even if I ain't checking out either series because they really aren't my thing, ignore what I'm currently watching please, I do admit that the characters here are both very badass, and the episode's portrayal of this does show this in full detail. But that's obviously just the analysis, which is so wonderful for obvious reasons, and that is the fact that they're also really good. But now it's time for the main course. For creme de la creme. The fight itself. Ow! The fight is genuinely amazing. Honest to God, this fight is really well made and has tons of fun stuff to go around. I like the setup for the fight. I mentioned in the previous video where I did not know what happened during the pre-fight and it looked really confusing since it looked like Nolan started the fight over nothing. But the fight seems to take place on the bug planet that Nolan travels to after his whole ordeal on Earth, which makes a lot more sense than the one that I was expecting it to be. The fight is very fast paced and features a lot of movements where the fighters use their moves that the analysis built up to, with a lot of key pass coming from Bardock and Nolan regularly using his smart arms to get the edge over Bardock. These are also well animated and look very good when meshed well with the rest of the fight scenery. The overall animation is fairly decent. The only thing I dislike about the animation is its models. I do think that there are a fair bit of moments where the models look a bit uncanny, mainly in terms of Omni-Man in particular. There's a few moments where he doesn't look natural at all, and it's going a bit into Uncanny Valley. It's not a good place to go. I got stabbed like 50 times, and I heard many jokes I legally can't say. But overall, while the models do look fairly questionable, I do really like the overall animation that the fight showcases. Some moves I really liked were Omni-Man throwing the capsule at Bardock, and a section where Omni-Man weaponized the tail he ripped off of Bardock. That was also really funny, as well as the build up to the amazing climax, which I will get to soon, but I have other things to mention before that. The song for this track is also extremely good. Solid State Invincible is a Brandon State track that is extremely good, and as a high-tempo version of Diabolical Invincible Me, which you can tell as the song even shares some of the lyrics. However, the song still stands out past the clear influence to the upper song before it. I really like the track, it is a fun bop to listen to, the lyrics are mixed well and are overall really good, and in general I like the overall tone of the song. Let me just get to what I'm talking about the most, and that is the god tier writing this episode has, because oh sweet Mary, the writing is beyond amazing. On the outside it seems really basic, with Nolan just defending a planet from Bardock, before talking about suns for whatever reason, they just felt like it. Father's Day be like that. The dynamic continues later as they don't really take much shit from each other, so both go all out and have some funny moments. Though the funny moments from Omni-Man mainly come from its model. It looks a bit strange in some places, okay? But the aforementioned ape scene, as well as being extremely aced in terms of hype, because tell me, the scene where Bardock loses his tail doesn't go hard, but also it sets up the ending for the fight. And oh my god, the ending for the fight! The ending of the fight takes place in front of this blue sun. I don't know what the technical term is, and I'm too dumb to find out. Now I can already tell what you are saying. You already like the lighting of the scene. But that all gets amped up when Bardock goes Super Saiyan. Because the moment this happens, the hype goes from already pretty high to dying of cardiac arrest. Not only does the music that already goes on line up extraordinarily well with the scenery, but when Bardock turns Super Saiyan, we just get eye candy after eye candy after fucking eye candy. The overall lighting is just really amazing, and Devil Artemis really went all in with the edits, as well as some scenes just going hard in general during the climax. Like both big punches, Nolan stopping the key blast, and the eventual final clash. I also do think that the death is amazing, with Bardock getting his arm completely blown off from the force of the punch, which Nolan could stop from his own end with his smart atoms. And then he mentions his pride as he mentions that he is a Saiyan after Nolan accidentally mutters the word, before falling into a literal sun. Even though I wasn't expecting Omni-Man to win, I am very glad that the episode beforehand was amazing. It may be a bit flawed, which we will get to later, but overall, everything surrounding the episode was fairly well put together, had a very good animation and edits, and was overall a worthwhile return to Death Bow, Wiz, and Boomstick. The conclusion is, I'm gonna be honest, kinda flawed. I did like the editing, but I'm gonna be honest, the stats are just really all over the place. I do not buy what they say when it comes to strength and speed. It's just completely the other way around to me. Mostly comes down to stats that need to be adjusted though. Mainly when it comes to the large part that required 3 function mines to blow up, but despite that, it's only seemed calculable that only Omni-Man did it, when that is clearly not the case. There is other questionable stuff like the ring star thingy that they go a bit more into. It is a bit questionable, but I'm not going to say much more, because the conclusion is still well edited. Even if I believe that they could have done a bit better at convincing me that Bardock and Omni-Man had different stats than what I originally believed, this episode was still very fun and is a very good sign to show about how much the new independent era of Death Bow will do when it comes to making new episodes. For next time is Shoku from Persona 5 vs Giorno Giovanna from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, also known in the community as our versus debater's worst nightmare. Now, this matchup has been requested to the Death Bow crew by a lot of people, and it's a fairly big legacy matchup. It isn't my favorite JoJo vs Persona matchup, but I am still glad this is happening. I already know this is going to cause entire battles to happen with versus debating, so stay tuned for a few days where I post my Joker vs Giorno short. Well, I will explain my bold process as to who I think wins and briefly explain why, similar to what I did with Omni-Man vs Bardock, because with the return of Death Bow, a lot more is very likely to come. Subscribe to make sure that you can learn about all these new things as quickly as possible, as well as making sure you do not miss out on any of my new content. And also be sure to watch any new content at the end screen if you like the video. With that, have fun.